You know what? We don't need to talk about that asteroid coming to Earth, do we?
It's an asteroid. I thought it was just like the sun moving between, or the moon moving between us and the sun.
Is it a big
It's the
asteroid?
sun going behind the moon.
No, it's the sun going behind the moon because the moon is stationary, you see, and the sun, which circles the planet, it's gonna hide behind the moon.
Pretty cool.
Actually, that's not correct.
What makes me scared is, since we all know the moon is made of cheese,
Yeah, I know.
with
gonna
all
melt.
that radiation, is it gonna melt? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're gonna
Cloudy
cheese
with
is
the
gonna
chance of meatball
gonna-
and cheese.
exactly.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
What's the elephant?
We all know the Earth is flat. Why are we saying anything about the sun and the moon moving?
Listen,
The
this
Earth is flat. Let's stop. Let's stop just pretending. We all know it. You all.
No,
all
if
three
we're
of you
gonna
Well,
do
when
know
the
it.
if we're gonna
cheese
do
melts,
that-
it'll melt on that flat Earth, and then you
Exactly.
can just scoop it
Kind of
up.
like a
pizza.
skillet.
I know.
There you go.
Well, I know that would be fascinating, but we all know this is really just simulation, right?
It is just stimulation.
What? Hey, everybody, welcome to the Out About Podcast. Boop. Nope, we're not saying podcast, are we?
I think you're saying podcast, not padcast.
Yeah.
But welcome,
To the
Yeah.
outer belt.
podcast.
But it's not podcast.
And who are you?
You just
You
You
just
said
said
it.
we're not saying podcast.
Oh, well, it's still not a podcast. It's a podcast.
Well, that's
It's
beside
not
the
a pod-
point. It's not a podcast.
well,
it's
it is
just
a
the outer
podcast,
belt.
but we're not
All right.
because it's not
well, how about
strictly a
just welcome to
podcast.
the Outer Belt?
That's what we were saying.
And you are who?
I'm not who I'm what.
Who are you? You're what?
What are you?
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Outer Belt. I am Patrick,
I'm chilly.
I'm Buttermilk.
And I'm Jerry.
and together we make up the Outer Belt.
It's a big ass belt.
Oh, and as y'all may notice today, we are missing our bookend, Mr.
Slim Jim.
Slim Jim Eric Hyfield Shady. Yes, unfortunately, Eric's gone. But you know we'll enjoy it.
Not permanently.
Yeah.
Just
He
Oh
tonight.
no, he's down in Louisiana with family
Yes.
this evening, and he regrets he can't be here, but no, he doesn't.
he,
But
he sends his love.
he sends his love and his whatever else he
Yeah.
sends.
Aww.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thinking of you. But if you don't know what Eric looks like, there's a picture right there.
There he is. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Eric. And
I love how they cue you up. When you're sitting there editing, are you like
I just make a decision.
do you forget?
either cut or add the picture?
Last week,
I know they pointed a couple times.
look, he's grinning. He's grinning from ear to ear because last week I had everything. It took hours to upload and process. And by the time it was done, I'm watching it and I went, crap. And he goes, what? And I said, I didn't put the daggone bunny rabbit up there. And I was like, it took literally all night to process my YouTube. I
Wow.
wasn't about to try to do it and
Right.
re-upload.
Right, that makes
Well,
sense.
No, but Eric's actually down in Louisiana interviewing new editors. So
That's funny.
I know. But it's been a fun since we've seen y'all last. It's been interesting outside. The weather has been a nice mix of
Cold.
warm, cold, freezing, snowing, raining, dry,
Very windy.
Yeah.
no wind at all.
Yeah.
It's just been it's been everything.
Yeah.
Schizophrenic.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sort of.
I looked at you called me the other day and I work from home in the kitchen and
I just
I
wanted.
looked outside and
As
I'm
you're
like,
supposed
oh my
to.
goodness.
I didn't say that.
It's snowing. And
Yeah.
you're like, yep. And I'm
It took
like,
me a second,
who
but I
knew?
got it.
I Monday morning I got up and I was gonna do my flight lesson. It actually got pushed early, so I'm getting up and I'm showering and all that stuff, and then pull my phone out to figure out what I've got to do before. I like to do some I don't typically do early morning flight lessons. That way I have a couple hours to get some stuff in if I need. So I'm running through the list real quick of stuff, and I get a text message from my flight instructor, and I'm like, okay, what's this? And I look at it, and she's like, I'm thinking we may need to cancel today because of the high winds and snow, And I'd seen the night before the winds were coming, so I started replying back. Yeah, I saw the winds last night. We're going to be a pretty high today, and I didn't know. Snow? It
Yeah.
took my brain, like I got that far into my text before my brain processed snow. And I'm like, you've got to be joking. And so I pulled up weather.com, and there's this huge blue blob coming right towards us. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then
Yeah.
a few minutes later, like I thought, okay, so it's going to be that like nice, light, barely any snow. It was really coming down.
It was. I check the forecast every morning before I get dressed. Do I need my long johns today? Am I wearing the heated jacket? Am I wearing my raincoat? You know, what am I wearing today to stay warm?
Yeah.
I didn't see snow in the forecast at all. Nowhere in the forecast did I see snow.
It was,
bizarre if it just pop up.
yeah, and then it lingered all day.
Yeah, all day.
All day.
All day.
It snowed on and off all day. And
I was telling Buttermilk that I kept getting alerts on my phone.
Yeah.
You know, the snow will end at 11:45. The snow will end at 2:45. The snow will end at 7:40. It all day. It was
Just
steady
kept pushing
all
it back.
day. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was nuts.
I can't remember. Have we recorded since the tornadoes that we had? Well, that was last week
first
too.
batch.
so we did we I know the weather's been so weird.
Yeah.
We did a set of tornadoes that I was out of town for.
Yes.
And y'all, the alarm went off for y'all. Y'all had to go seek shelter.
And then
The
wasn't-
Marysville,
I don't know
no,
that we've
not
done
Mary-
Marysville yet.
I'm sorry, what Marysville? The Madison County Airport got directly hit by that.
That's right. Yeah.
And we shared pictures, remember?
We did.
That's
The
the one where
plane was
you were
flipped
in-
upside down, the hangars.
Fort
Yeah.
Wayne coming back, and we had that round.
Yes.
Yes.
And then since then, there's been another round of
Yeah.
tornadoes hit Ohio.
Those were last week, I think.
I think they were.
They were last week.
I was watching the radar. I mean, first off, we were on a tornado watch.
Yeah.
And so I was like watching the radar, seeing where stuff was. And I told Vince, I'm like, look, it's hanging out over Marysville. It looks like it's coming right at us.
Yeah.
And I started following it, but it went north up into Delaware. And then it swooped back down to more like the 70, going out 70 east. But it just kind of did this little loop up and around us.
Well,
And then there
it-
was-
It went around the outer belt.
It did.
It did.
And then there was another one
I like what you
out
did
in
there.
Springfield coming right down the 70, and then it just dissipated before it
Yeah.
got to Columbus. But it did severe damage out there at Indian Lake.
It did. It did some severe damage in South Columbus around the corner. We had some friends of ours that their house got hit. Yeah, it's been a tumultuous change from
Weather.
winter to spring.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I'm hoping we're past this, but I don't think we are. I think we got a couple
No.
month or so more.
What's the saying? Spring comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard that before. Is that a
Really?
thing?
Yeah.
Jerry's
Yes.
heard that. It's a thing from the South.
Absolutely.
heard
Those of
it.
us from the South know all about it.
Oh, not from South Louisiana.
No, South California. South,
Okay, yeah.
South Los Angeles.
Yep.
Yeah, and from South Carolina.
No, in South Louisiana, it's like you wrap your pipes, it might freeze,
Yeah,
and then one day it's just not freezing anymore.
there you go.
Like,
There you go.
and then a week later it's hot. So
I know
it's,
the saying.
yeah.
Central Oregon, same thing.
Yeah, there you go. See, from the South.
Well, it is below Washington,
There you go.
It is.
southern Canada,
There you go.
That's it.
Do you consider
it.
Louisiana the South?
the deep South, my friend.
Yeah, I would
See,
agree.
I disagree. To me, the South is
Well, you're wrong.
Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina,
Really?
No,
Alabama, Mississippi. That's the South.
no.
I think it starts in Louisiana.
Yeah, I do too.
I do.
To
I
me,
think definitely all those southern states. I don't know that I count Florida. It's like between Florida and Louisiana. That's Florida and between Texas. What are those states?
That's yeah,
Alabama,
Florida.
Mississippi.
We call it the South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can actually get more. So like Florida, I think of like Pensacola, Tallahassee, Jacksonville. That's all the South.
Right.
If you go there, they got the same rednecks that we got in Louisiana, right? Like it's all same mindsets, everything. But when you get below that, when you get past Orlando, I think you get into what people think of as Florida.
Yes.
And the culture definitely changes.
Yeah.
It's very different down there. But they also the same people that like they don't get winters, they don't get seasons. They have iguanas that fall out of the trees,
Yeah.
things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, even in Louisiana, the parishes, which are our counties, we call them parishes, from Mississippi River to Mississippi are called the Florida parishes, because when they bought Florida from Spain, they took that area. It went all the way to Mississippi River, so they took that area and they incorporated it into Louisiana. Yeah, so I think of all that area as the South. Again, Deep South. I do think there's a difference in Deep South and the South. They're very related, but
I think I just picture the South as, the Southern accent, and Louisiana doesn't strike me as having that Southern accent.
Yeah,
I think there are those of us that picture the South as Confederate states.
Yes.
And that's
that.
the South for a lot of us. And I'll stop there.
Okay, so I think the South is a mindset too.
Sure.
Like there's varying degrees. There's cultural. There's physically the southern
Because
part of
you
the
ain't
country.
going to Louisiana and eating, red beans and rice. Well, sorry, you are eating red beans and
I was
rice.
going to say,
But you're not going to Louisiana and eating like collard greens and cornbread.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you
are.
are.
Yeah, you are.
look, my daddy from
We
Louisiana.
invented
both
that
of them.
stuff.
We're not going to
Collard
Louisiana.
green,
I'm thinking
cornbread.
Both of
like
them.
I'm thinking
Red
like
beans and
shrimp
rice.
and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shrimp and grits,
crawdads and
shrimp gumbo,
Yeah.
chicken gumbo,
So I think you're
sausage
getting
gumbo.
I think you're getting hung up on the difference in Cajun and Creole.
maybe.
So like Cajun food, where Eric's from, that's a lot of crawfish. That's a lot of crawfish etouffee and things like that. It's not and seafood. But Mississippi also has a lot of seafood. So does parts of Alabama, and parts of Florida. Florida has tons of
Oh,
fresh
sure.
seafood. So I think it's just coastal areas, and again in Louisiana, like those real Cajun-y areas, people think Cajun more than they think South. Which I think there's an argument to be made there that's probably, you see that transition from Deep South to more of a Cajun area to Texas, which is very Tex-Mex. It's very mixture of people from Texas or from America, from Mexico, and they kind of have their melting pot, which is different than Louisiana's melting pot.
Right.
So I do agree. We're a transition state, but we're definitely the Deep South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
would say that.
if you do go based on the Confederate idea too, it was the capital of the Confederacy. I mean, like all of that, which a lot of people do think of, like those are the states that seceded. That's the South. Attempted to secede. That's the South, and Louisiana was the literal capital of all that. So
Interesting.
not a great. I'm not bragging about that by any means. Not a
but
great
history.
Not a great
Yeah,
marker.
history.
Coming from
human-
Oregon, Pacific Northwest over here.
She's
but
like everything below Upper California.
Yeah.
when I think of South, I think maybe more your Georgia, Carolinas, South.
That's me.
South. Deep South. I'm going to those
Coastal.
Louisiana,
Yeah.
Alabama, Mississippi.
You know what?
Florida, I wouldn't think that, but now that you mentioned that panhandle through over to Jacksonville, I could easily see it being similar to California, where that northern part is a lot like Oregon or Washington,
Mhm.
but that southern part, like Sacramento below, is very city-fied and very different Los Angeles
Sure.
vibe, city vibe.
Sure.
So I can see that with Florida, though, too, being the same thing.
Absolutely. And Louisiana, people forget about Upper Louisiana. We call Southern, Arkansas. But that's very, let's shoot deer and let's all the things that everybody in northern southern states do. So, I think to me, I classify all that as southern. And again, mindset, cultural, because I mean, let's face it, when you get out of New York City, but you stay in New York, you're in the South. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even though it's north of New York City, and none of us would qualify that as the South in America, the culture and the mindset's very Southern. The way they do things, the pace at which they do things, the pace at which they talk, like.
Well, I think that's kind of like what Melissa
But
was
that's
saying.
culture. That's the culture aspect of
right.
it.
When you're north of Sacramento, it's a different pace. It's a different culture, a different lifestyle versus the cities in California.
Yeah.
You have that in a lot of places where, even here, if you get out of Columbus proper, that's a different mindset, a different lifestyle. But
It is.
anyway.
And it's fun here in Columbus too, because we work with a bunch of different shops and a bunch of different vendors, and you can tell who is from Columbus proper and who maybe lives
a little further out.
outside of the city, and they maybe come there for their job and then they go back home.
I have a quick question. What do you consider Midwest?
Wow,
Is
that's a
Ohio
whole-
Midwest?
Ohio's definitely Midwest.
Really?
That was a
Yeah.
tough one for me because geologically speaking, we're northeast. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like we're
exactly.
not Midwest.
Yeah.
But there is a huge culture shift from Pennsylvania to Ohio. Then you drag that all the way across the country to say, not Idaho. That's too far even. Like through Kansas and the Dust Bowl area and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where that northern border
Would
is.
you say that it stops like at the Rockies?
It definitely stops at the Rockies. However, I don't think of Denver as I think Denver as a mountain city. I don't think of them
Not
as
as Midwest,
a
yeah.
Midwest city.
I agree.
They don't have the culture of a Midwest city. They
Right.
don't. But for those of you that have never really paid attention to Colorado, everybody thinks Denver mountains. If you look at Colorado, the mountains cut it right in half. The east side of Colorado might as well be Kansas.
Yeah.
It might as well.
Yeah.
It's
Flat.
It
Yep.
is so flat.
Yeah. It
it's
will be.
it's flat. It's farming.
Yep.
It's like
There's-
you pop up over the Rockies.
Yep.
And then it's Midwest.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's very different. So
Maybe
Yeah.
some people haven't traveled on the channel, so they don't know. That's why I was asking.
Sure.
Yeah.
People have
think
asked me, kind of how
I think the
we
Midwest.
identify here in Ohio, and I'm like, I don't know if we're
Yeah.
Midwest or not.
it's
the
definitely
Midwest might be the largest geographic kind of
I think so.
region in the United States, just because it is so large. But
And it's
I-
spaced out.
it is spaced
Big
out.
cities
Yeah,
are
big
very
cities
far from each
very
other.
far from each other.
Yeah,
except
makes
for
sense.
here in Ohio for some reason. If we can go back to Louisiana for just a hot second, though,
Yes.
I actually found a news story that's very interesting to those of us who've driven across I-10 in Louisiana,
Okay.
particularly. And Patrick's going to give me a look here, so I'm not going to look at him. The Chaffalaya Basin.
Okay.
It's
Did I-
passable.
Did I say that right?
It's passable.
All right.
The Atchafalaya Basin.
If there's no A, I think you don't pronounce the A,
Yeah, you
right?
do.
You do?
Yeah.
The Chaffalaya Basin.
Yeah, but it's a soft A. It's not a hard A. Atchafalaya Basin.
Yeah, what he said. It is west of Baton Rouge,
West of Baton Rouge, east of Lafayette.
east of Lafayette, and it is there's I-10 through there is a 4-lane highway, 2 lanes in each side, and there is very little shoulder for emergency stopping.
Absolutely.
Um,
It's not, I would venture to say there is no shoulder for
There
stopping.
is no shoulder.
There's some space.
Right. There's a space, but you're not going to get off the highway itself. It is a bridge that runs over the swampland through there. And how long is it? I forget how long it is. It's long.
It's 20-something,
20
28
something
miles,
miles,
something like
yeah.
that. It's, for the longest time, it was the second longest, only to the Pontchartrain.
Right. Which is
the
long
longest.
bridge. Yeah.
So,
So-
it's very long.
Very long bridge. There's no exits to get off. Once you're on the bridge,
Well-
you're on the bridge.
There's one exit at the very middle, but that's it.
But that's it. But that goes down to like swampland, so you can go do your fishing and
It's
your
a really nice
crawfishing and
welcome
whatever.
center there.
But my point is, just a couple of days ago, on the 18th of this month, they got rid of the split speed limit for trucks and cars. It used to be trucks were 55 miles an hour, cars were 60, and there's signs the whole way down. Trucks have to stay in the right lane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, trucks have to stay in the right lane still, but they are changing the speed limit for trucks to 60. So and now there's some parity there in the speed limit. So I think that's a pretty big story that trucks can now legally do 60.
I
Not that they
thi-
weren't before, but now they can do it legally.
Yeah.
Do you think that'll change anything?
Yes.
Yeah, trucks will go faster
Absolutely.
now because cars are going faster. Trucks will go faster.
So they've done lots of research on this. Not just the state of Louisiana. I mean,
No,
like
California.
everybody has.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Or the IHS Interstate Highway System, whatever it is. Anytime you have split speed limits on the same road
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, so we're not talking day night, because there are some states that used to.
Right. Texas used to do
Texas used to do it.
Yeah.
Montana, I think, still does it on their county roads or their state roads. But anytime that you have split speed limits for the same road at the same time, it is always has higher accidents
Yeah.
than everybody going one speed,
Yep.
even though it means that the other speed that the 18-wheelers go faster every single time.
Interesting.
So that's why, like, I think Indiana dropped theirs. They used to be that way. California used to be that way.
No,
Indi-
California is still split.
Is it still that way? Oh, it is still split. That's right.
California's
Yeah,
still
They do
55.
55. Yep.
And trucks can only do 55. Cars can do 70 on that same
Yeah.
highway. That's crazy. Indiana's still that way. Indiana 65 for trucks.
I
60
think
for trucks, 65.
no. I think you need to scrap that.
Have
I
they
think,
changed that?
I think everything in Indiana is now the same speed. I think there was
Anybody?
I think it was a news story a year or two ago.
Okay, I must have missed that.
So I could be totally off record here, but I always thought, especially that bridge that you're talking about, Louisiana, I always thought the reason why the speed limit was down was because trucks are bigger, heavier, and to try to reduce damage to the bridge.
It's part of it.
Okay.
But when you have so many accidents and a lot of them end up in fatalities,
There's no room.
you work on reducing damage at that point, you know?
And there's no way around it, really. No, not without going way north
Well,
to get around.
there's the I-1 or the US 190 that is directly north of it by
Okay.
maybe 10, 15 miles. And it runs the exact same path. And when you go to Baton Rouge, you may know notice when you go over the interstate, there is an old bridge on the north side of Baton Rouge.
Right.
It's orange, bright orange,
Okay.
burnt orange. That is US 190 as well. That's the exact same routes, 4 lanes, no shoulders for the bridge portions. But what's different with them is most of it is levee,
Okay.
and they have bridges periodically. It's not just one long
One big
bridge.
yeah.
So it is a little bit different of a setup, and you have to go through quite a few towns, and those towns are all speed traps.
Of course.
I mean, that area, it'd be 55, 65 miles an hour, and you'll go to a town where it's 30, like that. And they'll be sitting there just waiting for you. They're like, it was such a big deal that the state of Louisiana, maybe 5, 10 years ago now, actually passed a ruling saying that for the towns that do that, they actually now the Louisiana Department of Transportation actually goes out and puts up speed trap warnings on the highways to let people know you're coming up to a speed trap town.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That is the option. It is slower because you do have all those slowdowns and red lights and such. Anytime that bridge is down, it's the only other option.
I always wondered how come they didn't do mandatory pull-offs before the bridge at either side to check for tire pressure, tire this, tire that. I realize it doesn't always stop anybody.
Yeah.
You know, like at the top of a grade before you go down the
Sure.
hill,
Yep.
it's a mandatory pullover,
Right.
check your brakes.
Yep.
I always wonder why they didn't do that on that kind of a bridge when, you know, just do a double quick check, or maybe even getting out of the truck and getting some fresh air might keep
Would
you.
they
Yeah.
would they have
You know?
room for as much traffic that goes across I-10? for
Probably
people-
not.
for
I think that's a big reason why they don't have it is
Maybe.
the quantity. But you know, the elephant in the room, so to speak, as Vince so poetically put it, is why is the bridge not built to interstate highway standards?
Sure.
You know, like why has the forget the state. Like I love I love Louisiana. I'm a big fan of the state. It has a lot of problems. I totally understand that. So forget it. The state's not going to do it. Why is the federal government not stepped in and said, "You're going to do it, and here's the money, and here's the contracting company you're going to use"?
Well, especially when it's such a major thoroughfare for interstate commerce.
It's a huge
Huge
thoroughfare.
thoroughfare,
Interstate
yeah.
commerce, defense.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything.
it
It's
is
huge.
a huge bottleneck. Why have they not
Yeah.
stepped in and said, "This is unsafe, and it's costing the country millions upon billions of dollars every year"? Like it's crazy how bad it is right there, and I hope this fixes it. I mean, I am a firm believer in single speeds. I don't agree with the split seat. Part of the thing in California is controlling emissions. You know, at 55 miles an hour, a truck puts out considerably less emissions than a truck does at 65 or 70. So they've got two different fronts, right? Like
Sure.
the CARB, which is such a huge driver in California, along with the perception of safety, is kind of keeping that crushed. But I mean, again, every time it's studied, it always is safer to make them both the same speed limit, even if it means the trucks can go faster.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool article.
Yeah, I found that in CDL Life. I thought it was interesting.
Yep. I saw one of our driver, Dana, maybe posted
I think it
that.
was
I think
Dana.
I saw it from him,
Okay.
and I was ecstatic when I saw it. I mean, I don't drive that road anymore. I don't live in it. Eric does. That's actually between where our business headquartered in Baton Rouge and his moms and dads and his parents and family and everything. So that's a major thoroughfare for him every time he goes home. But for me, it's I don't really hardly ever use that anymore. So,
Wow.
but still, it's just to see, you know, again, the state that I actually like and care about is doing something like good and useful and increasing safety.
Sure.
Right.
Just like
Sure.
there's some serious conversations about putting a second interstate crossing, or I guess it'd be a third, but a third interstate crossing in Baton Rouge over the Mississippi River. That's long overdue. I mean, that's long overdue.
Yeah, that's a serious bottleneck coming through there.
It's a serious bottleneck when you come off I-10, off Mississippi River Bridge, and then you merge on. So it's weird the way it's set up. It's like that interchange in Memphis we talked about last week, where
Yes.
you're actually staying on the road, but it feels like you're getting off it.
Right.
Same thing there, and it goes down to one lane. So it's two lanes that actually merge off, but one of those lanes becomes an exit only immediately as soon as you make that turn. And so it is essentially one lane that it brings I-10, the busiest interstate in America, to one lane.
That seems silly.
It's very
Very.
silly. They're now talking about doing a second bridge, and they need to. I mean, they built a bridge across Mississippi, probably 45 minutes north of Baton Rouge. There's no good trade routes. It's kind of a weird bridge, and a lot of us are wondering why they built it.
Right.
But I guess if you live in the area and you work over there across the river, you don't have to use the ferry anymore. So there's some benefit there. But it serves like, I don't know, like 10,000 cars a day, whereas Mississippi River Bridge is like 100,000 cars a day in Baton Rouge. Yeah, it's long overdue. So much that goes into it: environmental studies.
Oh yeah.
Where do you put it? How do you not literally affect the environment? If they choose to do a twin span like they did in New Orleans in downtown Baton Rouge, what business is going to get bought out and destroyed? Because there's businesses on both sides of the interstate, so someone's going to get wrecked. You know, we've got property down there. We're in that same boat of like, this could really screw up our place. It's a weird situation happening there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Louisiana's
So-
a very special state. If you don't know much about it, read up on it.
Yeah, it is special. Indiana hasn't made that change yet.
Okay.
So they passed a bill in the Senate to make that change, but it hasn't actually come into effect, and they're still working towards it.
Okay.
I'm getting that from a Landline, an article dated January 26 to 24.
I don't drive on the interstate much. The part of
No, we go through the back roads.
we go
a
the
lot.
back roads.
Yeah.
The back roads are all one speed.
Yeah.
So
So just thought I'd share that.
okay. Well, I knew they were talking about it, so I'm glad to.
They're working on it. It looks like.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
It's
Can they work on the road construction a little faster too?
I-70's been under construction since from Indiana border to Indianapolis on the east of Indianapolis.
I thought they did something smart though during COVID, where they had the big construction project going on, and when people stopped traveling, they decided, oh, people aren't using the road as much as they were. It's not as important right now as it was. Let's shut it down completely and get the work done.
Yeah.
You know, and there was decent route arounds down around 465, is it over there?
Yeah.
So you can get around there pretty easily when the roads weren't as busy, and they knocked the construction out pretty fast. But now they're back to
Yeah.
taking forever.
I always thought it was funny when they put our
Buttigieg?
Buttigieg, yeah,
Buttigieg?
Pete, but yeah, he I thought it was funny that because he's from Indiana, like, and he ran the Department of Highways system in Indiana, and they brought him over to run the national one. I'm like, have y'all been to Indiana? Like, he seems like a nice enough guy, but maybe let's put him over something else. Like, Indiana's not very
Have
well.
you seen their roads?
Yeah, this is
That's
not their.
funny.
It's not one of their strong points.
Right.
They don't work well with Amtrak. You know what I mean? Like, they don't. They're not. Not the best in the world. But anyways, I always thought it was funny. I mean, there's been some great infrastructure bills that have been passed the last couple of years. So, obviously, doing a better job than I originally thought it might be. But I was nervous there at the beginning. Well, since we're talking about infrastructure and highways and all that stuff, there was an article I sent you a while back. We were going to talk about it last week. We ran out of time. There's a company. This is out of Landline Magazine. There's a company owned by. I don't see a name for the company, but it's being started by Frank Sanzala.
Senzala?
Yep. And his goal is to build 100 fenced-in facilities across the nation with 450 big rig parking spaces. Now these
450.
yes each, so it'd be a total of what 45,000 or something like that.
Okay.
And his goal is to put in driver facilities, and he's even talking about working with 7-Eleven and a couple other companies and Hilton to put in a convenience store and hotel lodging at these facilities. They're not, from what I can tell, they're not doing diesel, but they'll be, what is it, restrooms, showers, television lounges, Wi-Fi, vending machine, eating areas, an adjacent convenience store and hotel with partners like 7-Eleven and Hilton. That's their goal, is to, they're basically putting together a truck stop without selling fuel. And he's not running the truck stop, he's only running the parking
yeah.
section of it. And I thought it was neat that, well, I have a couple thoughts on it. One, the article doesn't talk about how's he paying for it, how as a truck driver do I access it and use it. They don't really get into those details, and maybe
Right.
because they have some more that they have to worry about
Sure.
before they get it. But so those are questions I have, and secondly, I'm wondering, or I thought was neat, was how they're actually putting in these parking lots. So they are specifically targeting rural areas where the land's cheaper, not paving these parking lots. So instead, what they're doing is they're digging up a layer of topsoil, putting down this this vinyl, like tarp, I want to say, is what I understood it to be. A sheeting, that's what they called it, sheeting. And then they're going to put a honeycomb structure on top made out of like a plastic material. And then once they get that on there, they're going to fill in all the spaces on the honeycomb with gravel and dirt, so that and pack it in so that adds the structure for you to be able to park your rig on.
Right.
And they're doing this because it's substantially cheaper than asphalt or concrete.
And it also asks for great drainage and easier maintenance too.
Yes. So that's what they're claiming. They're saying easier maintenance, drainage, somehow. So, like, I have questions, obviously. The water draining will be able to go through these honeycombs, through the sheeting, into the ground, and then join the water table or filter through to a creek or whatever. But oil and coolant leaking and things like that are not.
Sure.
Correct. That's what they're saying.
So I'm curious about this product that they're saying will do that. And they talked about,
I think one of the big things about this product is it was developed by the Army Corps of Engineers back in the 70s.
Yeah.
But it was developed by the Army Corps of Engineers. It's not some fabulous vaporware thing that hasn't been tested, or somebody's come up saying, "Oh, I can do this." There's science behind it, from the Army Corps of Engineers, and not just some random company.
the Army Corps of Engineers came up, from what I read in the article, came up with the honeycomb system that you
Right.
pack in and makes it firm. But the sheeting and everything underneath it, I don't think they came up with. So I don't know if there's a product out there that exists that can tell the difference between water and oil. I mean,
It says it right here. It says drippings of oil and grease will be captured by additional sheeting under the honeycomb while water continues draining.
so I did see that, but again, I wonder what that sheeting is.
Sure.
What is out there? I mean, like oil and coolant and I was gonna say brake fluid. I guess brake fluid if you have a hydraulic truck, but power steering fluid, like they all have different consistencies and densities than water does.
Sure.
So maybe that's how they're doing it.
Yeah.
But
It says if the draining slows, so I would assume that's from the sheeting capturing the oil and grease.
Yeah.
It says if the draining slows, earth and materials and the honeycomb can be taken up, the filter like sheeting cleaned or replaced, and the surface reformed.
Yeah. Again, I'm just curious what that sheeting is.
Yeah.
What is it that they're
What's
using?
wicking?
Yeah, what's making that happen? This geo-webbing stuff they're talking about, I've seen it. It's very popular in not America. So they even talk about how it's popular all across the world, not so much in North America. I've seen it in other countries I've visited where they've made roads out of it and parking next to places, and it's cool because you can do things like let grass grow through it as well.
Right.
So it looks really nice. Eric and I wish he was here to talk about it, but we did a hike one time in another country. It was on a hill, and getting up and down the hill was extremely steep. So you couldn't just, like, if you just walked on the dirt, it would eventually have washed out, and they wouldn't be able to like maintain the path. So where it got really steep, they actually used plastic crates that were similar to this. They filled them in with rock and soil and buried them into the ground, and we had a perfectly nice, easy walking
Wow.
because of it. I've seen this thing used before, our versions of it, and I know how good it can be. What I don't know is when you have, like, how big are the sections too? So when you have a 53-foot truck, you think about, or even a box truck, you think about when you go to a truck stop and you're backing in, there's clear grooves in
Sure.
the asphalt where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
been worn out and all that stuff. So are they going to occasionally dig this up, repat the ground, put it back in, or are these things going to break? Because, I mean, the areas where you normally park the trucks are going to take so much more abuse than all the other areas. So I don't know. I just wonder, like, the maintenance side of it.
I think a lot of that grooving, though, you see in asphalt, comes from heat. When it's hot and those trucks are sitting there, and
Yes, absolutely.
they're
Yeah, you're
helping
right.
make those dents, right?
Yes,
I think the heat factor goes away. Yes,
completely.
you're still going to be compacting that soil if it's not compacted well enough underneath it. And but I was looking at pictures on their website, and I'm thinking honeycomb, thinking relatively flat, not very tall as far as the honeycomb structure.
Yeah.
This looks like it's inches tall.
So the stuff we were walking on was probably close to a foot tall.
Okay, interesting.
And it was packed in that deep.
Yeah.
There were times where it was stairs, so you could actually see the full height of it.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's the same stuff, I'm assuming it's
Could be.
it's pretty deep.
Could be.
Yeah, it is very cool. That side of things is very cool. I just wonder, like, I've never seen it in applications where you consistently have extremely heavy trucks on it, and they're always staying in the same area.
Right.
Sure.
Even
Sure.
Yeah.
even like a truck stop that uses concrete slabs, you'll notice that eventually a corner will break off and
Sure.
it falls in because of a sinkhole that's developed. And then you'll see giant slabs that'll get sideways and crooked because, the earth just kind of washes away at some point. How does that work with this? And do you occasionally have to rip it up? Can you remove these things, repack the earth, and re-put them back in? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, in the
I see
article,
there's some YouTube
What-
video searches to be done on this
yeah,
stuff.
what
That'd
Melissa
be cool.
just said, what read in the article, is that
I-
if draining slows, earth materials in the honeycomb can be taken up, the filter-like sheeting cleaned or replaced, and
Yeah,
the
but
surface reformed.
but it doesn't say if they can reuse the honeycomb
honeycomb.
or not. So
It doesn't.
don't know.
But,
I've
I mean, the cost of that's probably a lot less than.
I have a
repaving
bigger question.
a
I want to
Absolutely.
know if
parking
it
lot.
smells like a urinal or if that drains through too and it smells like great
I
area.
guess it depends on the sheeting, but we don't have information on what that sheeting
Yeah,
is.
they don't
You know what
mention
I'm
whether
saying?
the sheeting
It-
can
'cause-
capture.
I'm sure that would probably
oil
go
and
through because it's kind of
coolant.
like the waterless urinals. Pee
Yeah.
is a different.
Right, but I mean, is that getting washed away into the earth, which would be
Oh,
great because
here
it
the
is here.
truck stops, it just pools on the asphalt.
Prepared areas allow rain and melting snow and urine to pass through the drains into the ground.
I mean, I wasn't trying to be,
I added that part
Gross or
myself.
rude,
No, I
but-
get it.
but
get it.
boy, that's the biggest thing I think of
I
when
think
I think of
it-
truck stops.
I don't think it. I think it will let it, but I don't know about the odor factor. I've been camping and all that stuff. It was a big part of my life as a child. Being out in the middle of the wild and you got to use a bathroom and there's no bathrooms
Sure.
around. Like, you kind of figure out where to use it, and if you go to a place that's been used a few times,
There's still smell.
there's a smell there, even
Yeah.
though it's in the soil and it's disappearing.
Sure.
Like,
I get what you're saying.
I
I'm
think
a
that-
camper too. I get it.
yeah, it's still going to happen. So I don't know how much that's going to go away, but it might be better. I don't know. It's very interesting. At least when it goes into the ground, it goes into the soil and just doesn't sit on the asphalt.
Sure.
You're not walking on it.
Sure.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of
Baking
nice.
in the sun and
But so
Yeah.
I go back. There's an interesting thing that so all that's all the, like, how's it going to work, the nuts and bolts, the practicality
Sure.
of it. Here's my real juicy part that made me laugh. So I'm already, how are you getting money? How are you paying
Right.
for this? Because if you're charging for it, truckers are already majorly complaining that truck stops are charging for parking.
Right.
If you're going to charge for it, how are you going to get people to go?
Right.
Secondly, they made this comment: security will begin with fencing. So they're going to fence everything in. Then they're going to carefully screen the trucks and drivers upon the entrance to the main gate. Quote, ratty trucks with a lot of oil leaks won't be let in.
Who's picking
Yeah.
those?
Exactly. Who's
I
doing
don't want to
that?
be that person saying, "I'm sorry, your truck's ready. You got to go somewhere else."
They say we'll scan license plates and driver's license and have an AI-based facial recognition equipment so that drivers known to have records also won't be let in.
Wow.
They're also not going to let in lot lizards or scam artists.
So you're trying to park, and you're literally going to be backed up for 10 miles because they're going to be taking
Right.
all this time doing all this
I
scanning.
was going to say, this is like
It's like-
going to a military base and having to sit and wait while
Right.
you go.
Yeah, or
You're
I wonder
gonna
if
chemical
you
sit
can
in line and
pre-register, though.
everything.
Can you pre-register
Well, we don't have those details, but hopefully.
with
right.
your photo and your
Hopefully.
license, and then they're going to do a background check? Totally air quoting here for those that you
You know
can't see
what?
me.
I'm
Like,
gonna,
are they going to background check you?
I'd be
But here's
curious
my-
to see if this guy shows up at Matt's.
I would too. I wouldn't mind going and talking to him. Here's my question: in trucking, people from all different facets of life come to trucking.
Sure.
What are you going to do if you have a truck driver who has a criminal record,
Sure.
but they are no longer a threat to society?
Right.
And they have an immaculate truck.
So does that mean you
How do
can't?
you vet that?
How do you vet that? You're
Yeah.
not going to let him in. Lot lizard. How do you know a lot lizard's not hiding in the back of a truck? How do you know that a truck driver coming in? I mean, I've had it happen to me where I've been at a truck stop, and a guy gets out of his truck, walks over to my truck, knocks on the door, and says, "Man, I got laptops that fell out of the back of my truck. You interested in buying any?" How are you going to keep those people out? I guess when you catch them and they
Yeah.
go in your system, you
But
don't let them in
otherwise,
again.
You don't know.
But you don't think a scam artist is going to be able to figure out how to
Sure.
show up with a different license plate? He did say facial recognition. That's super expensive, and how reliable is it? I understand. To me, it's kind of like
Well, I mean, facial recognition is getting better. I mean, airports are using it. You just walk through the airport now,
Yeah.
and they've got all that.
Right. It's interesting to see how this comes to be, if this comes to be.
again, if we're talking scam artist, you drive the truck. I'm gonna be in the sleeper.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
get
lot
it.
of high tech is what I hear. And again, bottom line, how much am I paying to park? Can I reserve a spot? I'd want to know that.
Yeah.
Because if I can reserve a spot, okay, I might consider your place, especially if I don't need fuel. And I know because I'm the night driver at 3 in the morning, I can't find.
Right.
It's not even going to be worth my while to go through the 3 different truck stops to see if there's a spot.
Yeah.
So can I reserve? Is it all going to be based on reserve? First come, first serve? I mean, those would be all the questions I'd want to know. And then again, what is that price? Because you're using high tech, whatever, honeycomb, you're using AI, you're fencing the lot, you're doing all these extra kudos. You know, what's
And these-
that cost look like?
These are very large facilities.
Yeah, and maybe some of this is subsidized by his partnerships with 7-Eleven and Hilton and
Sure.
whoever else he has nearby.
And then
you know.
where are these rural spots? Because
Well,
are we really parking rural, or are we parking
Well,
closer to
that's
the city?
That's the other thing. I mean, like, people think about Iowa 80, the world's largest truck stop, right? You know why they chose that spot, right?
It's in the middle of nowhere.
No, they're exactly, is it 8 hours or 5 hours from Chicago on the 80? So on the busiest interstate, leaving Chicago, they're exactly however many hours it is.
Right.
And they literally chose that spot when they first built it because they knew when you got to this spot, you're going to be ready for fuel. You're going to be ready for something to eat. Like, you may shut it down if you've had a lot of traffic. And that's why they picked that spot. And they obviously did amazing with it because they've grown it to be the world's largest truck stop. And it's
Yeah.
always busy. Every time I'm there, there's hundreds of trucks.
Oh, for sure.
Like, that was very well thought out. But it's of note that it's the only one,
Right.
you know? So, I mean,
I just, rural.
Interesting. The first one that they're planning is on I-35 between San Antonio and Laredo.
yeah.
That's pretty rural. I would call that rural.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of road down there.
There are some other.
I did see that, and then my immediate thought was where, because are you going to be too far away from San Antonio or too far away from Laredo?
Well, how far is it from San Antonio to Laredo? 2 hours? An
Yeah.
hour and a half drive?
Is it
Right.
that far?
Oh, it's about
That close?
that far.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that close.
I haven't been down there. I haven't been down there.
Oh yeah, it's
8 years.
It's a quick hop
And
skip
there's
from
some
San
newer
Antonio to
truck
Laredo.
stops along
certainly.
the way. Ma and Pa gas stations who've added truck stop parking kind of stuff.
Sure.
Those were happening when we were out on the
Yeah.
road. I
So,
don't know
I mean,
if they
there-
were quite
there's-
halfway. But
I think that's a good place if you're leaving Laredo, going north on I-35 to make your first stop, or if you're coming south into Laredo from San Antonio, stop there for the night, make your delivery in the morning, kind of thing. It's close enough.
I could see that scenario. If you just picked up, I don't know that you're leaving and stopping there. I think you would want a full service truck stop at that point. Somewhere I can pop in, grab some diesel, grab some food, and
I
then
agree.
go.
Sure.
Sure.
Or it could be that you left Laredo after sitting for 8 hours waiting for your load to cross the border,
It never
and
did.
you're just done.
Yeah.
You know, you got loaded, you're done, you stop there because you know you can park. And look, there's lots of scenarios. We could sit here all night and make a whole new show on just those scenarios.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one thing I would think too is, well, the Laredo one in particular is if I just loaded my truck full of goods out of Laredo, I don't know that I want to stop right away.
Sure, I get it.
Like,
I get it.
you know, maybe if AI is scanning my truck, then maybe it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. His goal is to have the entire network done by 2032, and they would love to have it done by 2030. So, I mean, there's 6 years from this happening. That's very ambitious. And he actually said, because the guy is, I think he's more like wants to see it happen for the good of truckers, not wants to do it because he wants to make a buck. And he has said, like, I hope people see what I'm doing and they do it themselves.
Sure.
I hope I get some competition. I hope other companies see this. I do like what TA said that they actually did talk to one of the vice presidents with Travel Centers of America, saying he doesn't see it as a competitor. He actually likes the business plan and says for service, you know, if a truck breaks down, we can get a service truck to that lot. We love the fact that our mechanics can be working in a secured facility and not just on the side of the road or at a rest area or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, they seem to be on board with it.
Huh.
So,
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, 45,000 new spots would be nice across America.
it really would. It really would. Is an epidemic, and the parking spots and rest areas are shutting down left and right. And we've covered all that before.
Sure.
If you want more information on that kind of stuff, listen to some of our episodes.
Were
from
you the
season
night
one.
driver?
I've been everything driver. So I drove originally when we very first got started. I drove 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Right.
and we played with that time a bunch of different times, and eventually I became the 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. driver. So it did fluctuate throughout the years, but yeah, I definitely started out nighttime.
And were you, Jerry? No, you were the day driver.
Originally day, then I went to nights with my mom, and then back to days with Don.
So that night parking, that's a struggle.
It is, and it's weird how it's a struggle some places and not others.
Sure.
Like I used to love when I could do a shift change at Iowa 80. It's like unless they're doing their
Their big show.
their
the
big
truck show.
yeah, their jamboree, you can get a spot there pretty easily.
Yeah.
Now you may not be close to the building,
No, but there's a spot.
but there's a spot. When I'm trying to think, what's is it Texarkana? I want to say, is a nightmare to try to park it at night. No, it's not Texarkana. Anyways, one of those
Sure.
might be. I actually think it is Texarkana. It doesn't matter. Like, there's a couple really big military bases. There's a couple really big chemical plants and stuff there, and there's a Flying J, a Pilot, a Love's. That's it, and a private truck stop that charges like 8 hours is like $40 or something.
Wow.
Obscene.
Oof.
And that's it. And every single one of those is busy. And if my clock ever ended at that place, every time I would just be driving in circles, waiting for someone to hopefully move. I hated that area. And we had a big customer out there, so
Right.
I was out there frequently. But
Sure. I usually would stage a couple of different spots if we couldn't go right to the shipper consignee.
Don was the night driver, and I mean, every time I would always feel the truck slowing down. I could feel him pulling into a rest area or something. And then I'd lay there and I'd wait a few moments and I'd feel the truck picking speed back up, and I knew there wasn't nothing.
yep.
I mean, I gave myself like an hour, right, buffer. Is usually, I mean, most times.
Sure.
Sometimes you really had to, but then usually you were just doing an immediate shift swap. But if you
Yeah.
had time on a load and you're like, okay, 3 places, a rest area, truck stop A, truck stop B, and then I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So
I've done the fuel bay driver swap.
Yeah.
You know,
we've done those.
I pull in the fuel bay, I get the pumps going,
Mhm.
start filling the truck up.
Yep.
And then by that point, Eric's out there, and then he can finish fueling while I'll run in the building and use the restroom, and then jump in the sleeper,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he buttons everything up. Like,
But those are usually, and I know, you're probably going to get flack, but doing stuff in the fuel island. But I always was very conscious about that, maybe picking a fuel island that didn't look like it had a long line, trying to holler at him 15 minutes or, if I knew I was cutting it close and
Mhm.
probably wasn't going to be able, but like, hey, it's your turn.
Oh, yeah.
Or, there was definitely communication like, I can't find parking. My time is done. You got to get up. You got to start driving right now. But we can put water on the truck. We can fuel. I'll start all of that while you're waking up because you want to be
like you said,
coherent.
though, you would usually give me a 15-minute before. I got a truck stop in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I've
that
ran
we're
out of
gonna swap at.
options.
Yeah.
We've got to swap.
Right.
I've done the same
So
thing.
I'd have time to kind of get focused and get my bearings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go in, get a cup of coffee or something, and be prepared to roll once we were done fueling. Be able to pull forward so she could go use the restroom and get coffee or whatever she wanted to do before she finished her shift. So it was always, but you have those moments
Yeah.
where you just got to get up and do it.
Yeah.
So it's important. That's why it's so important that you do get your full sleep and you're not hanging out and doing whatever, but you get your full sleep. So.
Yeah.
Well, I will say too, one of the nice things about being the night driver is, 3:00 in the morning. I need to pop in and grab some coffee.
Mhm.
You'll pull up to a truck stop and there'll be 12 lanes, not a person.
Oh
in it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And you have to pick the litter, grab a lane.
Yep.
If you need a diesel, great. If you don't, pull the yellow line.
Coming from the woman's point
walk
of view,
inside.
I always chose the closest one to the building.
Yeah.
So,
If I knew I'm not getting diesel and I'm literally just running in to use the restroom and grab a cup of coffee and a Snickers, then I would typically go further out.
sure.
That way, if someone is coming in to get fuel, I'm not inconveniencing them because it is taboo. You're not really supposed to hang out in
Yeah,
the fuel
Right.
island.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Of
course.
And
I
if
think
it
those are all trucker rules, aren't they?
They are.
Courtesy rules.
absolutely, yep.
So this isn't a bathroom truck, but I have done a shower while in the fuel island, so it just drains all down. So
I encourage
can
that because those
use-
fuel islands are nasty.
Yeah.
So I can use the water that we currently have and get that shower done. Especially if
But you're doing
we're
that
under a
while
specific
you're doing
load.
that while you're doing that while Vince is
fueling
fueling,
Fueling.
right?
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
putting water on the
And
truck
putting water on.
Yeah, it's not like you're just
and washing
chilling.
the windshield.
No.
No. So I would
No.
shower, make sure that I finished my shower. It was a very quick shower, but still showering, and then he would finish topping it off.
Yeah.
So that way we would still have him a shower. And again, these are on tight loads. Otherwise, we would use Love's truck stop for showering. That's just the way we were. I rather have endless hot water
Right.
than
Yes.
I'm under time restrictions. So,
Absolutely, and that's
or
if
the
you're-
fluctuation of the temperature.
absolutely. And if you're out there right now and you're listening, and maybe you're driving a truck that doesn't have a bathroom in it, or maybe you are driving, or you're not driving a truck, but you're thinking about it, and you're like, I really want one of those bathroom trucks. I'm gonna tell you right now, almost everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody with the bathroom truck showers inside the truck stops.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
just so much more comfortable.
So much more comfortable.
And Love's, I mean, it's gotten better now, but Love's, they keep their truck stops clean.
yeah.
They keep the shower. There's someone in there that literally cleans every shower
Yep.
after you've been in there.
Yeah.
And they're
Um,
huge now, the newer stores.
Yeah, they're huge. They're nice.
Space.
Yes, they don't use that old fashioned tile anymore. They use like on the sink. It's that solid surface stuff that can
Right.
take bleach, so that
Yes.
it is cleaned
Yes.
very thoroughly and
Yeah. You don't have mold growing in the grout lines.
exactly. Yeah. So it's nice. It's not the old nasty roadhouse esque era.
No.
We're all showering together
Right.
with half our clothes on, so we don't get whatever. Like it's very nice. It's very comfortable. So much so that people that even have showers would rather use their showers.
Well, yeah,
And Love's, one nice thing about us, a selfish plug is
Yeah.
Love's gives our teams 2 free showers a day,
Yeah.
like without buying diesel or anything. They're just like, here you go.
So the only time that we would use the shower in the trucks was whenever we were on secure loads or something like that.
Oh.
And we were tied up for multiple days and could not be at a truck stop.
Us
so.
too.
Yeah.
Well, so we never had a bathroom truck, but there were times where we were on some of the secure loads where you're on it for, 3-4 days and you don't really get a break or something. And man, first thing we did once we got that off our truck was immediately go to the truck stop
Yeah.
and shower
Oh, yeah.
because it's like there's nothing you can do. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And we were fine. I mean, the nice thing about those loads is you're not required to do a lot of work, so you're not getting funky, you're not getting smelly. You know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah.
You're not getting gross. But 4 days of just living,
Yeah.
you start to like, all right, I hate
You
this.
do.
And we tried every other day to get a shower when we were on the road. That was our goal. If we could get one every day, cool. But that rarely happened with the way schedules worked out. Every other day was kind of and on day 3, we were getting a shower.
That's
Yeah.
funny. That's kind of about the same with us, our rule. So daily was us,
If we could.
if we could. And typically it would be a together shower. This is the way we rolled.
Okay. Yep.
But if
We-
for some reason it couldn't happen,
We were always separate, but yeah.
then you'd try to figure out whatever shift or you'd,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever it was. Every other day for sure.
We did a lot of 30-minute break showers.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Those are so. Those have gotten a little nicer now. When I was driving, you remember the number on the side of the building, on the side of the Arby's or whatever,
Right.
Uh-huh.
and now servicing guest 27,
Right.
and you had to wait on your ticket, and you're like 42. All
Yeah.
right, but now it's on the app,
Yeah.
so
Right.
you don't even have to go inside the building. You
No.
can check in a little early, and there's like it's definitely gotten
Yeah,
a
if you're on
lot
premises.
easier.
And it would be too where
yeah.
you pull in, and as you're feeling, look at how long the line is. If the line is
Yeah.
long, if the line wasn't long at all, wake the other person up. Say, hey, we're taking a shower here, right? And you finish fueling, you park for your break, and you go get a shower. If the line's too long, and it's going to take longer than your 30-minute break, well, you keep on down the road, and maybe you do it at the next one.
And see, we didn't have that luxury back then, because
Yeah.
back then it was you had to finish fueling, go park, take your to-go bag, you know,
Right.
you change your clothes, all your
Right.
toiletries and everything, go inside, wait in line there, ask the lady for a shower, then get that ticket, then see I don't have enough time to take a shower,
Right.
and then leave.
Right. Yeah.
So it really has gotten a lot better.
A lot easier.
Oh, I
That's,
bet.
that's a
Lot
lot
easier.
easier than what it was back
Yep.
then. But
I have a question for your viewers,
sure.
the viewers. Do you use the Loves? Because Loves, maybe, do you use an app to check in for your showers? Or do you still do old school where you go in and then you hang out and wait? Comment below. I just want to know what people are doing out there.
I assumed everybody's using the app, but that's a good question.
I would say a lot of them because I know I did a video on that back whenever I was a driver, how to use the start the pump and pay with
Right.
Loves and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I know on my Extra Boogie channel, it still gets tons of views today. So
I introduced the team today to the Loves app, the ability to pay for fuel, the ability to start the pump
Yeah.
from their Loves app. They one was an experienced driver, one didn't have any experience. So the inexperienced, I didn't expect to have that knowledge. But the experienced driver, I was surprised he wasn't aware. But we walked through it real quick, and they were good to go.
Can we talk about that couple?
I don't know. Can we talk about that couple?
I'm going to.
Okay.
No, you don't want me to?
I don't know what you're going to say.
Oh, I
So-
just met them today. I took the time to go down to the yard and meet them.
Which you don't do every time somebody calls in.
No.
Just want to make sure we're not putting expectations
So now you have to
there.
ask me why.
Why?
Tell
Did
me why.
Why did you go meet this team
Why
specifically?
did you go meet this team specifically?
Because the one of the two is a Luke-Shire Expediter Adventures.
She doesn't even know her own channel name.
Luke-Shire
Expediting adventures.
Expediting Adventures OG member.
So
He's been following us from the beginning, and we actually, our videos got him into expediting, and he drove for the carrier at some point, and then things didn't quite work out. COVID hit also. So he's been off the road, and he's been trying to find the right partner, and he finally found the right partner, and he wanted to come on board with Hyfield altogether, but he just didn't have a partner back
Yeah.
then. But it's all come to fruition, and so what year are we in? 4?
Yeah.
4 years later, he's
so
here.
so what I'm hearing is, if you would like to meet Melissa, subscribe to Luke-Shire Expediting Adventures. Watch every one of their videos.
That's right.
That way you pass the test, and then
Because there will be a test.
there is a test, of course, and then she'll make the time
and
to
it is
come
not
down.
multiple choice.
No.
No,
No.
no, no.
Oh, it was, he's even a guy that he reached out to us, sent us emails and a messenger and had lots of questions way back in, I think we had started our videos maybe in 2020, very early 2020.
Yeah.
And when he told me who he was, like our second phone call we had, he's like, "Did you go back and find all my messages?" And I'm like, "I thought about it and I forgot about it." I said, "But I'll do that, after we hang up." And I did, and there were all of his messages talking
awesome.
about, how much they've helped him,
Yeah.
and it was just really cool that we're paying it forward simply by sharing knowledge, which is all we're trying to do.
Absolutely. None of us know everything,
No,
and most of us don't know a lot. So,
Very true.
like the quest for how can I learn more? How can I increase my base of knowledge?
Yeah.
And the fact that you all, because I put you and Expediter Boogie and Expedite Chicks and Trucker Travel and the Real Truck Couple and Nick and Carla and Crafty Truckers and everybody else I'm forgetting. The fact y'all put that knowledge out there for people to see and learn and grow, and it's huge,
if you want it.
Yes, but that's the individual. Just the fact
Sure.
that you put it out there.
Oh,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're right. I don't go meet every team. This one was a special one.
Yeah.
And even at that, I was there, 5 minutes
Maybe.
less?
Well, that's like
It was so cold outside. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll let you do your little thing.
Yeah. Well, it was
That's-
cold outside, and I had to work. I had a job to do, so
Yeah.
You did.
I
I
don't.
might have run you off.
So she did Patrick Hello.
Cheated Patrick Hill.
So I don't get
Yeah.
I don't get to go down there very often, just with the schedules and they're insane. But when I do and I get to meet a team, it's literally pop in. Hey, how you doing? Don't forget to talk to your mentor. Welcome to the family.
Right?
Bye. Like it's just like, and it's not to be rude. It's like two things or three things. One, there's days where I'm going, like literally I'll go to one truck, say hi
Right.
to them, and walk over to the other truck, say hi to them, and then I've got to get to a meeting. So it's like, it's difficult for me to make it happen. I try to, but it's difficult. Secondly, Vince or Melissa or someone else is there walking you through that truck, and I'm interrupting
Right.
what you're doing.
Yep. And they've got a rhythm,
And
like a
yes,
process.
they've exactly. And I stop them dead in their tracks. And now they have to go back and maybe talk about something they just talked about again
Right,
because
to get back in that
to get back
groove.
in that yeah. And then lastly, you're trying to move in.
Yeah.
Like it
You're
is
excited.
so exciting
Sure.
and stressful and anxious. You're trying to move in. You got this big, huge truck with all these cabinets and all this space, and you start moving, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Then you suddenly realize they don't have enough cabinet space
Right.
in these custom sleepers.
Right.
And so then once you're done with that, you got to talk to your mentor, you got to talk to your carrier, you got to go through, and they kick you off property at a certain time because it's a secure facility. Like there's just so much
Yeah.
that it's like we don't have an hour for us to hang out and
No,
chat.
and
Yeah,
chat.
we need
It's
to
going
get through it.
yeah, it's just gonna ruin your day. Like
Right.
and I've just done enough that I know that.
Yeah.
So it's not very often, but it's cool that you got to do the experience.
It
It's
was.
exciting. You see the excitement in their face?
He couldn't unload the 8 bags they had in their Uber because they did fly in. He couldn't unload those fast enough to come say hello. She jumped out. She said hello.
Yeah.
Didn't help unload the bags. He was trying to unload them, finished conducting business with the driver. And you could just tell all he really wanted to do was just bail out of the car and come say hi.
Yeah.
When it was all said and done, I said, "Hey, you're finally here." And he's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "You sure can." And it was just really cool, I've been there. I've been in their shoes. You get a little, I don't know what it is.
Starstruck.
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 And which is funny because we're not stars by any means. We're just people like they are. But I've been there. Vince and I have been there actually with the Crafty Truckers.
I wouldn't that way.
Oh yes, you were.
I wasn't that way with Crafty Truckers. Extract Boogie, I was that way. Crafty Truckers, yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah, you
I
do
do
get that
remember
way.
the first
you know?
time. Yeah, I mean, here you've
You
been
do get that
watching
way.
people,
Yeah.
and it's weird because they're not movie stars by any means. They're just, which is funny because movie stars are just people too, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah, I get it.
There's platforms.
Sure.
Platform
They have
shoes.
platform.
I saw Jerry put his coffee down just now, and Jerry accidentally, or on purpose maybe, along with our trip to London, introduced me to a new coffee drink.
Really?
So when we were in London, I was having a macchiato, a true macchiato, not a Starbucks macchiato, or a cortado, which is a shot of espresso with milk. I believe the macchiato was cold milk and the cortado was hot milk in the espresso. And then, I don't know, the other day, Jerry mentioned that he went to Starbucks and got a flat white. I think that was you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking flat white, espresso and milk. So similar to an Americano, which is espresso and water, and you can add milk if you want to, but espresso and milk. So I've been doing flat whites lately. They're really good because you get the full flavor of the espresso without it being watered down, and your milk.
So, do you remember in London we had a flat white together?
Was it a true flat white or was
Yes,
it a cortado?
It was a flat white at Battersea Power Station at the mall.
That was a cortado. Because I remember talking to the guy. He was in a little cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to the guy. That he didn't have macchiato on the menu, and I asked him what the cortado was, and he's the one that explained to me that the cortado was actually the espresso with the little bit of milk.
So did he say it was similar to a flat white or something like
I think
that?
he did.
Maybe that's what I
he
heard.
did,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
That's
right.
what I make at home all the time is flat whites.
But we don't have an espresso maker at home. I'd love to have one. Though. I wanted to give Jerry credit for my new favorite coffee.
Well, Jerry's like
Awesome.
the coffee king
He
over
is the
here.
coffee king.
Have you ever been to his house during the day
No.
and had late afternoon
No, some
coffee?
of us don't work from home. We actually have a place we go and work. So, no, I've not had the pleasure of going. The trucks won't fit in Jerry's driveway.
You know, you could have your afternoon break and just zip over, and he'd have a cup of coffee ready.
Zip over, slam the coffee, and go
Yeah.
right back.
Have you met my supervisor? Talking about afternoon breaks?
3 o'clock every day.
That's right.
Y'all get breaks when I'm not there.
Jerry and
We take our breaks earlier, generally, our lunch early when we know you're coming.
I believe it.
Because
I
we
believe it.
know that when you get there is no stopping.
I don't believe in breaks.
it's little
and-
squares to the walls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just because I don't eat lunch typically.
Right.
I don't.
Snack in the
don't
afternoon,
f-
have coffee in the afternoon.
No, I don't feel the need to. If I worked strictly from my office, I would, and I have before. Like when I have been here and I'm working on a project, espresso shot, which I start every morning with an espresso shot, and then in the afternoon, like I'll sip on a 5 hour. But like, there's a mental thing that comes with coffee. I think that provides alertness beyond just the caffeine stimulation.
Sure.
So I have found that when my 5 hours is not really working, or like, you know, an espresso shot's not really what I'm in the mood for. Like if I'm sitting down at my desk and I want something that I can slowly have coffee, because
Right.
an espresso shot's dead in like 12 seconds. You literally have less than 20 seconds from the time it's made to the time you drink it. After that, it turns super bitter. And every barista will tell you that that's the window. When they're making espresso, that's why when they make it, they immediately put it in your shot. If you add anything to it, if you add water, if you add milk, if you add cream, if you add sugar, whatever, it stabilizes the coffee.
Interesting.
But if you
Interesting.
just by itself, it does go
Right.
bad extremely fast. And I don't understand people that will order it, have
Ship
it
it.
delivered, or like they'll order it on the app, and when they show up at the store, it's already sitting there, and it's been sitting there for who knows how long. I mean, literally, I will go to Starbucks. Some will do it, some won't. And I'll tell them, like, do not put a lid on that. I always get a Doppio at Starbucks because one shot's a joke. So I get 2 shots. I'll tell them, if you can, don't put a lid on it. Some of them, like, we have to put a lid on every drink we send out. So they will literally, like, put it on, I'll grab it and rip it right off and kill it. Others are kind of like, oh, okay, here you go.
Sure.
So it just kind of depends. A cup of coffee, I keep community coffee in the house. A cup of community coffee when I'm working at the computer, it just does a body good. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It just works. But again, if I'm out working, if we're out doing whatever, no, we ain't got time for that. Let's just
To
let's
be
just
fair,
let's just do what we got to do and be done.
to be fair, I'll have a banana for breakfast, so I'm going to have lunch, right? And we don't take a full-on hour lunch. We might do a half hour, if that, for lunch because you can keep moving. There are times when I want a coffee, and I'm chasing Mel or she's chasing me to drop a truck or something, and I'll stop and grab a cup of coffee for each of us.
Yeah.
And that happens, I don't know, every couple of weeks maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It happens today. We stop and grab a cup of coffee on the way, but generally speaking, other breaks don't happen. It's
Yeah.
Lunch and the rest of the day, we're taking care of business. You know,
Yeah.
like, so I wasn't complaining when I said that. I don't want people saying, "Oh, your supervisor is horrible," because he's not. He's actually not horrible. Um,
I got you guys coffee the other day. Well, the other day meaning like a week and a half or
the
so
other day
ago.
can be any time in the past.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
recently the other day.
Jerry was born the other day.
We don't really take breaks, but we do. We have the luxury of working from home, so
Sure.
Yeah.
it's nice to wake up in the mornings and we have our coffee, and then we start our day, and I can go downstairs and make
Yeah.
another pot and pour a cup and go back to the desk.
Sure.
'cause
And y'all
I'm
you can share lunch together for what 6 minutes before he gets a phone call.
pretty much. It's about 6 minutes. Just-
I usually lunch in front of the computer, but it's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
So-
that today when I left the airport and got back to my house. Threw in a couple cheese. This didn't work. I got to figure out what I did wrong. I had some fried cheese sticks from the other day, and I threw them in the air fryer,
Mhm.
and they were in there for like 10 minutes, and they came out nice and gooey. And like 2 minutes later, they were hard as a rock and disgusting. So I don't know if it's just you can't reconstitute,
Maybe.
or if I just didn't get it hot enough.
Well, speaking of eating,
Speaking of eating, I know I just said I had fried
I heard it.
Cheese,
cheese
but
sticks?
but I've actually done really, really good, believe it or not.
Okay.
And so even though I did have that from a few days ago, I've actually behaved myself. It's
Ooh,
been fairly easy this week.
that's good.
Yeah, which I'm happy about. I think that mental whatever is past. We'll see. Knock on wood. And the weigh-in as of this morning,
Mm-hmm.
275.4.
Which puts us where?
2 pounds less.
Nice.
So I'm finally back on the
Nice.
dropping thing.
Oh, good.
It's so frustrating. I mean, when you are in that mind space and you can't get out of it, you can't break free, you feel like you got chains on. When you're finally able to snap out of whatever that is that's holding you back, it's a good feeling. I want to highlight one of my favorite fuelings. I think
Oatmeal.
I told you before.
Is it oatmeal?
It is. I think I told you before, I like my feelings to match the ideal time of day. So in the morning, I want to have like a shake or a oatmeal or a pancake or something like that. They have 2 different oatmeals, but today we're going to talk about the old-fashioned maple and brown sugar oatmeal. Listen to it. Maple and brown sugar oatmeal.
Are
Yeah.
you sure that's not Quaker Oats
And
instant
it's
oatmeal?
it's healthy for you. It tastes like Quaker Oats. It is so good. It's one of the feelings that I've had that I'm like, are they lying to us? Like, it's so tasty. It's so good. I really like it. It makes a small bowl, but it's actually a decent sized portion. That's the other thing is like sometimes you eat a bar and they're small, or sometimes you have a certain feeling and you're like, I feel like I didn't eat anything. This is actually a healthy-ish portion, and so you actually feel like you ate a good bit, and it's really good. Consistency of oatmeal, flavor of oatmeal. The only thing I don't have to do is when I make oatmeal at home, I put butter and I put milk in it.
Right.
I don't have to do that. It's already seasoned and flavored, and it's really, really good. I like it a lot. I know some people have issue with texture and they don't like oatmeal, but I am not one of those people. I actually really like oatmeal, and I was so happy to find these 2 flavors. I'll highlight the other flavor soon, but this one is the brown sugar and maple oatmeal.
Awesome.
I have a comment about that.
Go ahead.
So, Vince and I, at some point, maybe people don't know this, Vince and I, at some point, when we were on the truck, did the same diet plan as this.
Yes.
I would do those either in the pancake maker, the minis, or the mini waffle maker. And it was different in the consistency that it provided. So, like, the pancake maker, it ended up being more like a oatmeal cookie.
Yeah.
Oh.
And in the
Yeah.
waffle maker, it became more like a oatmeal crunch bar because it was a little,
Yeah.
squeezed or compressed, or so it was very different. But for us, if you wanted something like that, but you were driving the truck in motion, I could do a pancake or a waffle during meal prep and Ziploc them, so they would be then at room temperature. But you could eat one of those still, maybe for a breakfast
Yeah.
flavor, but the texture or the delivery method would be different. So it could be something you had sitting next to you, and it was breakfast time while you're still driving. Your 2.5 hours is now up, so you could just grab your little zippy bag and either eat a crunch bar-y kind of waffle or a pancakey cookie that tasted like oatmeal,
Now,
maple brown sugary.
when you made them in the pancake maker,
Mm-hmm.
did you modify the water to get the consistency?
Reduced.
You
Reduced.
so a little
So
less water.
basically, I would put it in a bowl, and I would start with like 1 tablespoon
Yeah.
of water, and then I would mix until I got to what I would consider a cake kind of
a pancake
a
batter.
pancake batter or
Okay,
a cake
yeah.
batter, like
So,
you're making a birthday cake.
Like
cake
a
batter.
little
thicker.
runny, but not
Yep.
really.
Yep. And you could tell. I mean, it's sometimes it was just trial and error. Less was always better. So a little thicker than thinner.
Yeah.
Because thinner would then just boil right out of the maker.
Yeah.
So thicker was always better. But yeah. I mean, those you've showcased. I think the cookie does the same thing too. But there was always, and I've heard you mention there's a Facebook group where they hack them and whatever. Which, sure, if you're wanting to keep it simple, just follow the directions. But if you want a different method or you don't have that time to make yourself one,
Yeah.
if you're on the truck, there was that meal prep you could do ahead of time. But it was great.
I wanted to.
I enjoyed that one.
I want to do the pancake thing. So it's in one of those. Was it Dash? I think is the name
Yeah,
brand
just
of
the
those
little
little
dash.
ones.
Yeah.
I've got one of those. I want to do the pancake and make it to a cookie. I love oatmeal cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
And
Make
it's
sure you spray it with Pam's spray. Pam's okay.
Okay.
Pam's part of the gig.
Yeah.
Doesn't take a lot. Just a little. Otherwise, it'll stick.
Yeah, that thing's. I mean, the maker's like it. It
It's just
makes.
a little
Yeah.
guy.
It reminds me
Yeah.
of what do they call them? Like when you go to IHOP and they have the little bitty pancakes.
Silver
Like
dollar?
Silver dollar pancakes. Thank
Yeah.
you. It reminds me of those.
Yeah.
I've got one
Yeah.
of those at home, and Don used it last night. He had breakfast for dinner.
Nice.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Nice.
He made
That's-
little bitty waffles.
that's something we don't ever do anymore. I remember doing that as a kid. I say kid when I lived at home, so pre-college. Like every now and then, it was like, all right, we're having pancakes, bacon, and eggs for dinner.
Yep.
Or we're having French toast, in sausages or bacon or whatever for dinner. I remember that being a thing, but like,
Yeah.
We did it at our house.
We
It's
did
done
that
it
too. We would
forever.
have like fried chicken and grits for dinner. For dinner and hell at breakfast.
That
for
doesn't sound
dinner.
like breakfast. It's breakfast.
yeah, it is.
For us.
Huh. Hmm.
We might have a pork chop and maybe some catfish
Yeah.
for yeah. You didn't have catfish for breakfast?
No.
Catfish for breakfast is a stretch, but the pork chop in breakfast,
No.
you can go to, well, I don't know if you can anymore, but Waffle House for a long
Yeah,
time,
Yeah.
you
pork
get a pork
chop
chop
and
for
eggs.
dinner
Chop and
breakfast.
Those
Yeah.
weren't on our list.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No.
Steak and eggs.
Interesting.
Oh, I got a T-bone from Waffle House one time, and I was like, steak and eggs is on. And it was the only time I ever ordered a T-bone from Waffle House again. I love.
I think the first time we went, we had a steak. And
You
it
did.
Was,
You
it
had
was
a sirloin.
T-bone or
It was-
whatever.
it was-
Paper
Paper
thin.
thin.
Paper thin.
They use a deli
Yes,
slicer
indeed, they do.
to
Yeah.
get it. They put the deli slicer on its maximum setting.
Yeah.
I think they just hold the steak with the tongs and just slide it across the grill and in on the plate.
And
Oh.
it's,
And it's already
well
cooked.
done. It's well done.
It's
at
well
that
done.
point, yeah.
I love. It's no secret. Again, it's not on TV at all, and I haven't been in forever. I love Waffle House. It is one of my top probably 5 restaurants, and the steak was horrible. I mean, just
Yeah.
horrible. The pork.
I think that's what spoiled her on Waffle House. That's why she didn't go back
Right.
until you
oh,
took her
it's
and
the
told her what
worst.
to order.
It's the worst thing to get.
Yeah.
We were on the truck for
3 years.
3 months, 6 months, and I had this big old hankering for a steak, and I
Yeah.
couldn't find. Like I had been using the Instapot, and the
Yeah.
Instapot has a crock pot, and like I didn't have a method to cook a steak. I didn't have a fry pan. I finally convinced him. We were in Nebraska somewhere.
We were in Nebraska.
And I said,
across
I
I-80.
am craving a good juicy steak and eggs. And I've been researching, and this is the little whatever I wanted. I wanted removable plates. So like the George Foreman, those plates are glued,
Yeah.
and you can't it's very hard to like put them in the water.
Yeah.
So I wanted removable plates that I could submerge and scrub and wash. So we went like 15, 20 miles
Yeah, it
out
was
of our
weird.
way.
We went to a Walmart, and it wasn't right off the highway. It was literally 15 miles off the
One
road.
way. Oh,
wow.
One way.
All
to
so that
do that.
I could then make steak and eggs.
Yeah.
I think the truck was in motion, but we got that waffle or that Cuisinart. It was a panini kind of grill, flat on one, so you could like do pancakes, and then if you flipped them over, they were the ridged griddle for steaks and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I think we got back in. I unboxed it all. I kind of gave it a quick sanitize, and we had bought steaks while we were there, and boy, I made we just ate
Hit that
good.
spot.
Oh my! I don't like 3 or I think it was about 3 months, 3-4 months.
It was
we've
pretty
been
close.
eating non-grilled food,
Right.
Yeah.
and I'm like, there's only so much of this crock pot stuff that's
Yeah.
And we
hitting
still
it.
have that thing. Actually, she used it a couple nights ago.
I did for scallops.
We've got one as well. It's at Huntington Beach or something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
The one I got introduced to was an actual George Foreman that we picked up at a thrift store.
Sure.
Because I don't know if you've been to, back in like the early 2000s, a thrift store, every one of them had a George Foreman or
Right.
10.
Right. Right.
They
The
were-
fat just drips off.
The fat just strips
Yeah,
right off.
I had a
exactly.
George
And-
Foreman as a young mom.
Oh, and I didn't even know that they had the drip tray because I
Yeah.
got mine from a
Oh my goodness.
store, so it didn't have it. So I just had like a plate. Yeah, it works so well. It was really
Yeah.
a good product, and it's
Yeah.
funny that they just kind of fell out of fashion. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why, but
I think the Cuisinarts and the paninis. I think paninis they required a different kind of grilling. So now you can just do an all-in-one. And George didn't hop on the bandwagon.
I remember the OG version of that, which was the Snackster. Do you remember the Snackster?
Oh.
You put your sandwich in there,
Oh yeah, and you pulled
and you
the
pull the
handle
thing
over
close,
and closed it,
and
yeah.
then it cut it in like triangles. It pressed it in triangles or whatever.
The original didn't do
Wow.
that. The originals had the Platons that had just the square.
Yeah, and you had to throw it in the
Back
fire.
in my day,
Yeah,
exactly.
throw it in the fire, get 'em
That's
hot.
what I had to do. Yeah, throw it in the fire, get them hot. Flip it over, get the other
Oh,
side.
that's
Yeah,
funny.
Yeah,
That's
same
funny.
fire for the iron.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. So how was Matt's, Patrick? You want to tell us about that? Or you want to say that for the next week?
Let's. First off, tons of fun.
Yeah.
That thing Jerry did.
Oh, yeah, that was insane.
I wish
I didn't know he had it in him.
I didn't either. I'm so mad we didn't get it on camera.
But he's the camera guy usually too. So
I know, but Don had the camera right then.
did,
was
didn't he?
just focused on me and you and,
He
and
was, and
Eric
Buttermilk,
and
Eric,
Buttermilk,
yeah.
and we missed it.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was a great time. It was a great show. Next week we're gonna have a whole show dedicated nothing
Yeah,
to it.
nothing to
We filmed a bunch of stuff for y'all
Yeah.
and had a really good time there. My favorite part of it was really just like going to the restaurants and hanging out with y'all and just spending time fellowshipping. Because
Yeah.
even though we live in the same city, we don't spend
don't
a
have
ton of
that
time
time.
together. We hardly ever get to see Jerry and Don because they
Hardly
live in a
ever.
whole different city.
They're kind of hermits sometimes too.
A little bit,
You know,
a little bit.
We are absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't deny it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it was a
And-
lot of fun, and Eric, Eric was able to be the show, and just spending all that time, and
Right.
then it was a great time.
Good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
With the Peterbilt booth, that new truck from Expediter Services,
Yeah,
that was really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's a pretty cool truck.
small sleeper, but
It's Peterbilt. That's they're
I know.
got some small sleepers on those things.
Well, who built it?
You know?
I like all the tricked out
ARI.
trucks.
That was a Bolt.
Was it a
But
Bolt?
the joke was Peter because it's Peterbilt. Anyways,
Yeah.
we'll be here next week. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get to
With
see
more
all
bad
kinds
jokes.
of more bad jokes, lack of humor, and you get to hear us for a little bit.
I forgot to tell you about my news. I know we're wrapping things up.
What's your news?
I'm going to be a grandma again. Boop, boop.
Stop it.
I'm going to be a grandma again.
Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Grandma. You're not old enough to be a grandma.
I was about to
Well,
say
I'm a
you're too
grandma
young.
too already. Yeah.
You're not old enough to be a grandma.
Are you excited?
Oh, I'm so excited.
What's it going to be?
We won't know for another 6 to 8 weeks.
What color hair? I'm pulling for red.
There was some mention of they hope it's not red, but I think it's going to come out towhead, a little blonde. So I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Well, that's
It'll
exciting.
be their first baby, and
Is it just one
so far just one.
so far?
Yep.
Is there
Okay.
still time for there to be two?
Ultrasound was one. Well, I guess
Okay.
if it was hidden, but nope, just one.
That does happen though, doesn't it?
It
Where
can.
One will be behind the
Yeah,
other and they don't
yeah.
see it. It's
Yeah.
always crazy when I see
Yeah.
that.
Just one. Due right around my birthday. That's even more exciting.
Oh,
Like by just a few short days.
I could make it.
That's what I said. I said the 13th's a great day to have a birthday. It's
Is
been
it-
good to me for 48 years.
Especially if it's Friday.
Yeah.
So,
Especially on
yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Cool.
Really, really excited for them,
It's very cool. And I know these two people or two of your kids that are having
Yeah.
your kid, and I'm I'm excited for them. I know it's going to be a big change for them.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
they are different parents than the last grandchild. It's a different set of
Different,
kids.
different son. Yeah.
So my older
Yeah.
son has two sons, so my grandsons, and then my younger one and his wife are now expecting.
Yep.
So,
So
yes.
total change of life for them.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch this happen. It's
And they've been
exciting.
middle school sweethearts, so it's I guess always been kind of a ooh, what will their kids look like when they have them? Since
Yeah.
he's been in the 6th grade. So
I know, and you always tell that kid in the 6th grade, they're like, "You're not marrying that person."
Right.
right?
Like,
Yeah.
stop writing Mrs. So and so.
Right?
Like that's not gonna happen. And then
So I'm excited. I'm really excited. So thank you for letting me share.
very cool, excited. Keep us
Yep.
posted on the development.
I will.
When
I
you
will
find
definitely.
out
I thought the blue shirt because this was part of the surprise. It came in the mail. I was instructed not to open it
the.
until.
Seems like they're trying to tell you something.
And I said, "So is the blue meaning something?" And it was no. It's just a nice color. I liked it.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. So, but that's how I found out. I did they mailed me a package. I opened it at a specific time while on a video chat with him, and
It's very cool.
it was pretty cool.
I don't think right now we have anything else I can think of to announce. Expo. Still haven't heard any word
Yeah,
on
no
it.
word.
You are going to be
A
in
grandfather.
2 days. So if you're listening to this on Saturday,
Right.
on Tuesday,
On Tuesday.
you're
Yes.
going to be part of something.
Expediter Boogie has invited Melissa and myself.
Oh, both of y'all.
Both
oh,
of
sorry,
us.
I misunderstood.
Is
Cool.
my understanding.
Yes.
Because the
Which
invite,
would
the
you rather
invite-
have?
The invite didn't come to me. The invite went to Melissa, and she said yes. So
That's of note.
I'm going to guess that he'd rather have her than me, which is fine. It's fine by me.
No.
She's
You
much.
guess wrong.
She's
Nope.
much more friendly and outgoing,
Bubbly.
and
He did ask if
bubbly.
Luke Shire would be on his channel on a Tuesday after Patrick. So Luke Shire is us.
I understand
And
that.
so
But just
as
to
us,
to Patrick's point,
because I can proxy you as an us said yes.
Clarifying question. Is any part of Luke Shire Expediting Adventures
She might make an
unscheduled appearance?
unscheduled appearance.
we've got to work on the set and everything still. I don't know if we're doing this remote the same way Patrick did. We got to get some airplanes to put behind us, and
Well, I thought you were
Work on
doing
building all
you were
that.
doing the brick wall fireplace motif, right?
yeah, with the popping fire.
Without the popping
Yes.
You're
fire.
gonna go to Lowe's and buy one of those fake fire logs that
Yes,
has crackling sound.
Exactly. So yeah, we got to work on the set and everything. But
Okay.
I'm excited for it. I'm super excited to be on with Jerry and Don.
Well,
It's
you're
going to
gonna
be 80 degrees that day, and we're going to sit on the back patio.
nice.
And you'll have the birds tweeting in the background.
Nice.
If only.
Well, I'll be in Florida that day, so
Yeah. Well,
got to go to class. I'm not going to fun. I'm actually going to class.
6:30 Eastern time, 7:30 Eastern time.
7:30.
7:30
Eastern.
Eastern time. Next Tuesday. Don't know what date. March 26th.
Yep.
We'll be on live with X-Rider Boogie.
I'm excited.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to find out what credit cards you'll talk about. I am still
So-
dying to know what Don is going to make you for your green room.
Super excited. I requested caviar, but then I was like, well, he
That's
doesn't have to
pushing it.
make that.
No, he's.
I want
I want the
Don
real
to make
black-
you
something.
open a can
Yeah,
and dump.
exactly. Dump it on some crackers or
That's
something.
not exciting at all.
I want the real deal
I
black
want
sturgeon,
Don
though.
to actually make us something. So
Black sturgeon,
looking forward
The,
to it.
the actual black caviar.
like where they do the
and
motorcycle
sturgeon.
Yeah.
No,
rally.
versus,
Sturgis, Sturgis. Sorry,
versus the salmon roe that they dye with squid ink.
it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed my experience on there last week or this past week.
Nice.
And if you missed the live stream with Patrick, you can always catch that on my channel. And there's been a lot of shorts as well released on the Hyfield YouTube channel, so check those out.
All right, we'll see y'all next week from the recap of our Mid-America Truck Show experience, and we look forward to chatting with y'all then. Until next time, stay safe, make good decisions.
Don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.
Bye.
Good night.